So in this lesson, we're going to do a second pass on the gauntlets. And what I want to do is I want to show you how to use a photographic texture to add even more realism and more depth to that. So let's get started. Let me turn on these lines again because I want to see kind of the definition of what this is going to look like. This could use a little bit of a touch up. I'm just gonna clean that up a little bit. Doesn't have to be 100% perfect, but you know what? I take that back. Just wanted to tighten up those little areas a bit. I'm using this rough brush here, but this is metal. Okay, so this is a metal texture. This is actually going to be smoother, so you're not going to have all this rough. So I'm going to use this soft edge brush. So we have our mood board, right? That I said that we can toggle back and forth. And this reference here is what I wanted to kind of this and then this also are some of the things that I have here for the metal pieces in the scene. Sometimes what I'll do is I'll take an image. So like this one, for example. And then in here, what I did was I created a folder and I titled it ref for reference short. I'm gonna move this up here, and I don't really need this red, but these two kind of feel like within that family. I'll bring this into the actual document. I'm going to command click on this box, and then I'm gonna hit here to create a mask. I'm gonna click on this link to unlink the mask from the actual image. And then I'm gonna drag this so that I'm only viewing these things. Trying to make this image as small as possible too, so it's not too much in the way and so it's closer to my object. I like the rough edges. So what I was talking about with the smooth brush versus rough brush is that for the most part it's metal, so it is a smooth surface. But I think eventually once I get further along, I am probably going to want to add some rust. So I have my gauntlet layer selected here. We're going to create a new layer. We're gonna clip it there. I don't title these because I end up just compressing them. The white fur, I had compressed it. Here with the mask, I'll eventually just compress it and move on to the next. So you could title it as well if you wanted. I usually just compress it pretty quickly after I'm done with the first pass. This is a warmer kind of bluish, greenish, this turquoise, and the shadows I want to be much cooler. You know, instead of thinking of it as whatever that object is, I picture it in my head as just a shape. This is, to me, these are cylinders. This is gonna have a shadow because this is a button, so this is gonna have a shadow on the outside part. There's no shadow up here because the light's coming from up top. The shadow's down here. There will be a highlight up here. These little parts here, I just kind of outline them just so that I have the line work. I'll finesse that later on. I just want to have my paint strokes in there so I can turn off the sketch lines. But in order to do that, I need to know where everything falls. This is also a button. I think that this will also kind of have a shadow down here. See the way these kind of loop all the way up? I think this one's probably just because of the angle of his arm. I think it'll be more like, I don't want to say completely perfectly centered, but sort of. And then we're gonna add in our shadows here. Really am constantly like thinking of spheres and basic shapes, like, okay, where does the light hit, okay, where's the shadow? And once you get a good grasp of that, you'll realize, man, I could paint anything. If you look at down here, then you go up here, I feel like these can be darker. Look at this guy. When I'm up here, see what color, where the value, so the darkness versus the light. So he's down here. If I scroll down here to the shadowy areas, it doesn't change that much. Again, nothing too heavy, nothing too drastic right now. Things bounce and reflect off of metal. So the ground here, although this isn't like an actual environment, this is sort of a studio kind of setup maybe. The ground is going to be this sort of color. I'm going to create a new layer, and I think that some of this color will bounce up a little and kind of reflect on the bottom of this. Subtlety is key. Plus here, like a lot of people probably wouldn't even notice that this looks like trees. I mean, I'm guessing that that's what it is. Because it's kind of green here and then a little bit more blue up top. You'll start to see color differently the more you paint and observe this way. I think this could probably use a little bit more variation up here, so I'm going to do that, make it warmer. And I think that my light is going to come through. I think it is going to catch some of this over here. Let's turn off the gauntlet. Yeah, some of this, I don't know, somehow ended up here. I'm gonna erase that. And then I think we're good for this section. Let's turn this back on. And no, this is too heavy. So we're gonna scale that back a little bit. I'm really happy with this. I think this is gonna start to really feel like metal as we get further along. I think these buttons will be like different color, yellow or something. I don't know, maybe orange, we'll see. And as we get further along, you know, we'll kind of refine these lines and stuff. They're going to be like little panels. In the next video, we're going to do our first pass on this backpack. So now that we're done with that second pass on the gauntlets, I want you to remember that these second passes are crucial in the process, because these second passes are what's going to really take your flat image to a more defined and dimensional kind of look and feel. And using these photographic textures that I showed you, I think will also add just another layer of realism. And the next lesson, we're going to go ahead and talk about how to add glow and blur to really start to add depth of field and really make it feel like your character is in an environment. So we'll take a look at that in the next video.